Of course, former federal prosecutor, so I think that you're a perfect person to ask about this. The revelation yesterday that we have at least, mind you, we can't give us a number, 9 Justice Department officials now who were representing terrorists at Gitmo. The law firm that Eric Holder worked for advertises on their website, according to Congressman Peter King, that they represent and represented terrorists at Gitmo. You have Eric Holder, a guy who let the FALN terrorists out. He said, "You want clemency?" They didn't ask him for clemency. What's going on here?
Well, that's another legitimate issue that is kind of pushed aside by saying, well, lawyers have to represent people, and lawyers don't get to choose their clients, and that's part of the legal system. I agree with all that, and I am a lawyer and completely agree with it. However, here's the reality. Let's say you had 7 or 8 lawyers that represented a particular corporate interest in the Justice Department, and that corporation was getting better treatment than it was entitled to. There'd be a firestorm of criticism, wouldn't there?
Yeah.
Or suppose I go back to the days I was in the Justice Department, both as a kind of line lawyer and then the third-ranking official. We pursued the mafia and organized crime at that time. Suppose we had in the highest ranks of the Justice Department 7 or 8 lawyers who had been representing the mafia. And not only that, we were making questionable calls in terms of giving the mafia better treatment than it was entitled to. Right? I mean, there's a real issue here, and it shouldn't be just pushed aside by the fact that lawyers get to represent and should get to represent who they want. This Justice Department has gone out of its way to undo things that had been done under Attorney General Mukasey and Attorney General Ashcroft to really be tougher on terrorists, giving Miranda warnings when you don't have to give Miranda warnings, deciding immediately that you're going to close Guantanamo before there was even a realistic possibility you could put these people anywhere.
And I believe that statement is directly responsible for what we're discussing today, because he had to live up to that promise that he made the day he walked off the stage, and realized before thinking it through, you can't do it.
Possibly an attorney general that didn't have 7 lawyers who represented terrorists around him in the Justice Department would have had the ability to tell the president what the attorney general should have done, which is to tell the president, Mr. President, I know this is hard to say because you promised this during your campaign, but do not go out and promise you can close Guantanamo, because you can't. Because here's what will happen. You will embarrass yourself and you will break your promise, which he did.
Exactly.
I worked for 2 attorneys general, Attorney General Levy and Attorney General William French Smith. And in the case of Bill Smith, I was quite close to him, and I was his 3rd highest official. Attorney General Smith was one of Ronald Reagan's best friends, and he had at various times had to tell Ronald Reagan no. And he did it because he was an attorney general who cared about the interests of his president, but he also was dispassionate enough not to be overwhelmed by causes.